Hello and welcome to Game Boy Classics. In this installment, the game is SolarStriker, released by Nintendo in 1989. This is one of the only Nintendo first-party shooter games I think they've ever made. It's very unusual because Nintendo is usually, all about platformers or puzzle games or, you name it, but shooters, it was really something special back in the day, especially since the Game Boy did not have many shooters early on. So Nintendo showed third parties how to do it, and they went from there. So here we go with SolarStriker. SolarStriker has some of my favorite music on the Game Boy. I just love this music. It's very memorable, and stays with you. When I was a kid, this would be, one of my favorite go-to games if you were going, on a car ride or anything like that. This is the great kind of game, to zone out on. Tetris, would get, a little bit repetitive over time, and I wouldn't want to play it, after playing it for like the zillionth time. But this game, I don't know, even though it is repetitive, it also has, sort of like a zen state that it puts you in. It's also a really well-designed game. Unlike a lot of early Game Boy games, this smartly uses a playfield that's actually bigger than the Game Boy screen itself. This means that when you move to the left and right, the game actually will scroll with you to show you a larger playfield than what the actual Game Boy resolution can display. This means that there can be more going on, off-screen, as opposed to just what's on screen. So you have a bigger area to dodge enemy fire from, and see what's out there. However, the game is challenging, as you will die in a single hit, and when you die, you get powered down. You lose your power-ups that you have. This is very typical of, these kind of games of the time, but even so, it still sucks when it happens. The game moves at a single speed throughout the entire game. It doesn't have, you can't change your maneuverability speed. So you're always at a consistent speed, but it's not a bad thing. You don't move too slow or too fast, which is a problem in some games like Gradius especially. This first enemy is very easy to beat, or this boss I should say. You just simply dodge the 3 balls that it fires at you. Should also mention that this game is also one of the only Game Boy games I can think of that really actually looks good with the Game Boy Color negative color mode that puts all the whites turn into blacks and all the blacks turn into whites. This means that you instead of having like a bright white background, which I'm playing here, I could play with a black background, like a star background. Although this stage is like in the clouds, so it sort of makes sense for it to be white. Although the first stage is in space, so that should be black, but that was white too, because, Game Boy. Monochrome screen, not back of it. Kids these days don't realize, kind of things that we had to deal with when we were kids. Although the game is challenging, it is short. There's only a total of, I think, 4 or maybe 5 or 6 stages. It's not a very long game. If you wanted to, you could beat the whole game in about, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. It's not a game that you can actually speed run because the game runs at a consistent pace, and you can't outrun the screen or anything like that. However, this would always be, the kind of game that I thought, I could play, regardless of if I was good or bad at the game, when I just had fun playing it. And indeed, when I was a kid, I'd be fairly bad at this game. Alright, there's the second boss taken out. Alright, I'll only do one more stage or die trying. Now I'm finally on the ground. I'm not sure if SolarStriker has been re-released on the Virtual Console or not for the 3DS. If it has, you might want to check this game out, although you should probably still pick up the original cart as opposed to the 3DS version, but if you don't have any Game Boy or any Game Boy method of playing Game Boy games, and if you exclusively have just the 3DS, it's still not a bad game to pick up. Especially since the prices are like a few bucks each. This game is definitely worth a few bucks. Alright, so I'm down to my last life now, I gotta be careful. Let's see if I can take out this boss, or the boss will take me out. I think it's supposed to be a tank. Kind of like Atari, you had to use your imagination with some of these enemies. Ah, I got killed. Well, anyway, that's SolarStriker. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. And once again, I'll see you next time.